So we'd rather live like this. We'd rather live with all of this. 18-year-old high school football players getting stabbed in the neck for approaching the wrong person. 23-year-old refugee from a war stabbed in the neck for no reason. Guy in Denver, Colorado, former Space Force officer, 54 years in prison because he snapped and chased the black kids that tried to steal his car 3 times and never got caught.
Crazy.
What kind of society do we want to live in? It's a pressing question. Do we want to be too racist and safe, or not racist enough and not have a society? It's that simple.
Yeah.
So people are going to have to get a little bit more comfortable with talking about this in racial terms, because that's why we can't solve it. And you want to know how we know that? Because if it was a white person stabbing a black girl, they would be lynching this guy.
For sure.
That's how you know. Because if it was a white person, a white football Chad, stabbing an 18-year-old black kid in a hoodie with his Arizona iced tea and Skittles, they would fucking lynch him.
DM.
If it was a white person pushing a black person in front of a subway train in New York, they would lynch him. That's how you know it's racial.
Yeah.
Because if it was white people doing it as characterized and portrayed on television and in movies, we wouldn't have a problem. Because there would be narratives, there would be policies, it would be called the new KKK, and they would spy on every white person and decimate the criminals. But because they're black, and it's not politically correct, and it's sensitive, we can't chase them, can't charge them, can't lock them away. We can't even talk about it. They won't even cover it.
Exactly.
And it's gone on for too long. Too many bodies. And too much insanity. Look at what's become of these. It's depressing. Look at what has happened to Chicago. Beautiful city. Ruined by this. Same with New York. Same with LA. LA is one of the most beautiful places in the world. Look at what they've done to it. Because we're afraid of being called racist. Well, I'm part of the new generation, and I can assure you, I don't give a fuck about being called racist. I want my fucking country back. If that makes me racist,
So be it.
so be it. No love lost. And increasingly, that's how people feel about this. That's how I feel about it too. So that's the issue. What's amazing is, of course, Trump is surging the National Guard in these cities to take care of the problem, and you're having protests against it. They want the chaos. They want the disorder. It has to be broken. These people have to be broken. It cannot go on like this. There needs to be leadership. It needs to come from the top. The people may not like it at first, but they need to accept it. Because otherwise, we don't have a country. It's that simple. So I see everybody skirting around the issue. You know, even these guys like Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh does a show every single day about how black people are the problem. He just never says black people. You notice that? He'll never say white and black. He'll insinuate it. He'll make oblique references to it. He'll say, we all know why you can't talk about this. Tell us, Matt. Tell us why. They never propose a solution. What's the solution, Matt? Tell us, please. What's going on? Tell us it's racial. Say the words. Tell us it's genetic. I want to hear the words. No more playing games. No more of this Midwest bullshit where these white cowards get together and they shrug their shoulders. They make that white person face. They go, no, let's just talk about it. I'm a new generation of white person. I'm not living around blacks. Sorry. You know, I want white kids, and I don't want my white kids bringing home black people to marry. It's racial for me. And call me racist. Oh, very Christian of you. I don't give a fuck. That's the attitude we need to bring to this. And by the way, we're just the latest ones to that party. You know, here's the part that amazes me about it, is when you consider all this insanity, realize that most black people don't even like white people. Most white people, or rather, most black people, the level of resentment, the way that they have an axe to grind against us, We as whites are tripping over ourselves not to offend, to be so sensitive, to cater. Did they ever care about offending us? When is a black person, when have you ever seen in media, in Hollywood, in the mainstream culture, when have you ever seen a black person get canceled for offending white people? When have you ever seen a black person go out of their way not to offend a white person, to their own detriment maybe?
Never.
If that has ever happened in history, surely it has never been recorded, because I've never heard of such a thing. If anything, they're antagonistic. They relish, they revel in offending us. They look for opportunities to offend us. A completely defensive posture. And again, it's not all black people, it goes without saying, but it is a lot of them. And so it's like, let's just be honest about what we're dealing with here. We are on our own. When Austin Metcalf got stabbed, black people raised $500,000 for his killer.
Crazy.
That's
man.
what we're dealing with here.
Fucking crazy.
When this attack happened on the subway, all black people can say in the replies is, well, what about school shooters? Well, what about this? Well, what about that?
And you know, they tried to create a GoFundMe multiple times, even for the guy that stabbed the Ukrainian girl, Iryna. So that's crazy, you know? That's fucking insane. Like, we will never do that.
We are on our own. Like, we have to stop looking for this kind of cooperation. As a white person, the word is fatigue. We are exhausted. We're just fucking done. We're done. We don't want anything to do with you anymore. It's a shame. It's a shame because I think a lot of people, a lot of white people like the idea of diversity and like the idea of being inclusive and tolerant. And on some level, I like that too. I mean, I think there is something that appeals to us as human beings about the idea of a universal brotherhood.
Yes.
I think there is something intrinsic in people, maybe only in white people, maybe in other people, that there's something shared between all of us as human beings. It's a nice idea, right? At the minimum, might be. But a lot of white people are looking at this and saying, you know, the public outbursts, the scenes they create, the crime, the violence, the disrespect, and then you talk about it, and then they browbeat you. They want to lynch you for being racist. Someone says the N-word, it's an international incident. And so people are saying, you know what? Okay, bye. Like, I want to go and live with only white people then. Because when we encounter them in traffic, it's chaos. We encounter them in Walmart, it's chaos. When they're shoplifting and on public transit, it's chaos. When you call them on it, they are yelling in your face. You're being called names. They want to hurt you. You wouldn't say that to my face. Why? Because you're a tough guy? Why? Because you're on welfare and you have nothing left to lose? You're not worried about an assault charge because you're a fucking loser with no life, or because you know that there's going to be no social repercussions or legal repercussions for you?
Yeah, both.
You know what? You're right. I don't want to see your face. I don't want to say anything to your face. I want to get as far the fuck away from you as possible because I don't want to live around violent maniacs. I don't want to live around cry bully, fucking baby narcissist maniacs. I don't want to live there. I don't want to raise a family there. I don't want to hear the excuses. I don't want to hear how I'm a racist. I don't want to hear how you need my fucking money, how I need to pay reparations. You know what? Good luck and good riddance. That's the attitude. We tried integrating. It didn't work. This is a result. Who wants any part of it? Not even them. Not even them. What's the first thing they do when they make a lot of money? They get the fuck out of the ghetto. Not even them. Why do they want all this stuff with education? They want to send them to white schools. Because we know what happens at black schools. They want to live near us because they want our tax money. They want reparations because they want our money. It's a toxic relationship. We want out. What's even the positive at that point? Like, honest to God, what's the benefit? All I see are risks, chaos. All I see is antipathy and deep distrust. They glare at you. They menace you. Looking to be offended. Always uncharitable. People are saying, yeah, we're good. People move to like a white place like Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and I don't think one person moves there and says, you know what we need here? I just had a brilliant idea. This party's missing one thing. A black family. Like, no one's saying that. We don't hate them. We don't hate all of them. We don't think all of them are bad. But no one's saying like, yeah, let's roll the dice and bring them over here. No, people are saying, yeah, we've worked up the courage to take our own side and do our own thing. Sorry. And look, that's just the way it is. I think this is just irrefutable proof of that, you know? Like, and where's everybody else on this? It would be one thing if liberals or the government came down on this and condemned it, but they don't. They don't even fucking talk about it. That's the last part about this is, you know, liberals and the government and the institutions, they look at us as like knuckle-dragging racists. You hill people, you're so ignorant, you don't like people because of the color of their skin. It's like, no, it's just every time I see someone getting stabbed to death, they happen to have the same skin color. I want to avoid that, so I avoid that.
And by the way, looking at statistics is not racist. Like, if 12% of the population does 60% of the violent crimes, we clearly have a problem. Like, it's not science. It's not you have to be Einstein to understand that. Like, it's simple, you know? It's not racist. If we identify the problem, we can solve it. But if we pretend that it's not even a problem, we're never gonna solve this. And the thing is, a lot of black people kill black people. So if we solve this problem, is even a benefit for the blacks. Like, it's not like a benefit only for us. It's for the Asians, it's for the blacks, it's for the people in general. Even though we will save literally black lives. But no, let's just pretend it's not a problem. Racism, systemic racism, everything is the white man's fault. That we stab each other in Chicago 50 times every weekend. We kill each other, we shoot each other, we rob each other, we destroy cities. It's all the white man's fault. But we want to stay here. We want everything for free. We want EBT stamps. We want free housing. We want everything and more. And do everything we want. That's why the phrase offended by everything and ashamed of nothing is very popular lately.
It would be one thing if this was getting coverage in the press. It would be one thing if there was a mandate to put an end to this. It would be one thing if the people telling us to ride public transit and to integrate it, if they just applied those standards to the black people. But they don't. It's being inflicted on us, and we're expected to tolerate it, and we're being penalized for having an issue with it. So, you know, and this is one of my favorite things to say, this is not how it started. You know, this is the middle of the story. It didn't start this way. It didn't start this ugly. I didn't start this ugly. I had a normal upbringing in a very white suburb of Chicago in the 21st century, and I was raised in grade school thinking that, you know, for 400 years, white people were just oppressing black people for no reason because they're ignorant and backwards. I was raised thinking racism so deeply wrong. I mean, I grew up in a relatively liberal community. But then you get mugged by the reality, you know? It didn't start this way. I think a lot of people had goodwill. Look at how many white people were posting the black square, raising the fist, kneeling. Think about how much that goodwill from 10 years of BLM has evaporated, how quickly. Trayvon Martin, the gentle giant Mike Brown, George Floyd, the patron saint. Think about how much goodwill towards black people and these stories, these fucking excuses. The barber.
By the way, only black people can put some drug addict that beat up a pregnant woman as a saint. Like, that's crazy. He even died from fentanyl overdose because he popped off in his stomach. Like, that's crazy. These people don't even read the autopsy. They believe what they hear, you know? Yeah, he died from the knee on the neck. No, bro. He died from overdose. Look at the data instead of spitting what you hear from leftist propaganda.
Think about how, and you could say, you know, that was a result of brainwashing and propaganda. Nevertheless, there was so much goodwill, whether socially enforced or not. It has completely evaporated in the span of 5 years. Because now, between the body cameras, the lack of censorship, they defunded the police. You know what? Mission accomplished. And you know what happened? Crime, chaos. They said innocent people are being rounded up to uphold white supremacy. Yeah, it turns out the police were suppressing crime, actually. And now we see it on the body cameras. Now we see it on TikTok. Now we run into it all the time.
Exactly.
So it didn't start this way. It ended up this way. Now the question is, where are we going? And I'll say this much. Maybe you agree with everything I just said. Maybe you're appalled. Maybe you think it's horrifyingly racist. Maybe you're clutching your pearls. I can't believe he said that. That's Nick Fuentes. He's a Nazi. Let's talk about where this is going, okay? I am a Christian. I do believe that we were all created by God. I do believe that every human being is entitled to dignity and respect. And I do believe that we should treat everybody humanely. Everybody should have rights. Everybody has their due process rights. I believe that. I believe that everybody should be treated with respect and so on and so forth. I'm saying what I'm saying out of frustration. What I am saying is I want to be left alone. I want to go away from the problem. That's what a lot of people are saying. We want to avoid the problem. But just like how it didn't start here, it doesn't end here either. This is going to keep happening. You know, as sure as I'm sitting here, you're watching this right now, whether you're watching live or the replay, you know it's going to happen again and again and again. As long as they are what they are, it's going to keep happening. And the National Guard is not going to be able to stop all of it. And there's going to be more videos and more outrage, and people are going to get more radical. And I wonder where that is going to head if we don't get a handle on it. Because me, believe it or not, right now, I may seem like the bleeding edge of the right wing. I may seem like the most extreme person out there because I believe in genetics and race and these sorts of things. I'm a Christian. I have a good heart. I'm a loving person. I want a peaceful solution. What I want is for the government to enforce the laws. That's what I'm calling for. I want the government to enforce the laws with recognition for the dignity of all human beings and their rights under the Constitution. But there are people already that are far more radical than me, and they don't believe those things. They are what you would call real racists that actually have hatred, that see whites and blacks as in an inexorable racial tribal conflict that will only end in a racial war. Or some other kind of radical situation. And there are a lot of people out there that don't believe that there should be any dignity or respect or things like that. Many of them are not Christian. That's where that's going. Now, the question is for liberals and left-wing people, black people, for anybody that is interested in harmony and stability, how far do you want this to go? And I'm not saying that as a threat. I want the problem to be solved. I want criminals to be arrested and for us to live in a safe city.
Yeah.
But this will continue. And there will be people worse than me. There will be people, I maybe not even say worse. There will be people that are hateful. There will be people that are cruel. There will be people that are merciless. And they will attract a larger audience of people that want to see blood, that want to see reprisal, that want to see horrible things. That's just a reality. The record of history suggests that this is the way this is going. I don't want that to happen. I want to arrest this trend before it gets too out of control.
Sure.
You may think I'm the worst option. That's because you have no understanding of history. You know, these woke pieces of shit that look at my show and say they're horrified. This is a real Nazi. This is the worst thing they can imagine. They don't really have an imagination. They must not know what the record of history really is. And again, I don't say that gleefully. I want to stress, I don't say that with any kind of, I'm not saying that glibly. I'm not saying that with any kind of satisfaction. I'm saying this as a warning. I've been saying this. I am a Christian. I do have love for all people, even these people that are killers and in prison and so on. And I do pray for their salvation. And I do want a solution that is best for everybody, that we live in harmony. I want people to be treated with respect and dignity. But you know human nature, the more this goes on, I mean, there are going to be people they're going to be very angry and very hateful and very emotional about this. And, I don't know. The question is, how much control over events do you have? This is going on. It's been going on. There's going to be a reaction. There is going to be a reaction, not a question of if or when. You cannot erase these people. Banning them on Twitter does not erase them in real life. You can't, that's the way it's going to progress. So, and I've said this for many years. Years ago, people were skeptical. Years ago, people said, you're just saying that, you're masking your real intentions. I've been consistent on this for many, many years. I've said the same thing. I said it then when it was not obvious. I'm saying it now when it's much more obvious. So I pray for this country. I want this country to stick together. I want our cities to be safe. I don't want to see chaos. I don't want to see instability. I don't want to see war of all against all. I don't want to see these things happen. But you know what? It keeps going on like this. I mean, it's almost going to be guaranteed. So it's a shame. It's a shame that this is happening. But anyway, that's that. We're going to move on. We're going to talk a little bit about the Jeffrey Epstein letter, and then we're going to take a look at the super chats. I do just want to stress that because a lot of people say, what's your end game? Or people insinuate that I'm dog whistling and talking about, something horrifying. Honest to God, I'm really not. I say this as somebody that hates seeing people die. I hate seeing people get stabbed to death. I don't want to see it, black people doing it to white people. I don't want to see white people doing it to black people. I'm not a sadistic person. I'm not a sadist. I don't like seeing suffering. What I long for is justice. Mercy also. Mercy is important too, but at this point, we are deficient in justice. What I want is justice. Not cruelty, not hate, not, to the extent that you could call it a kind of blind tribalism. What I want is justice. I want prosperity. I want peace. I want harmony. These are the things that I want. And the way that you get there is you enforce the laws. You be honest about the problem, about what is going on, who's doing it. And we have to talk about where it's coming from. I think a lot of it's genetic. That's a difficult conversation we have to have. And it's going to require a different approach than what we've tried so far. It's not benefiting black people. It's not benefiting us. But we're going to need to have a kind of difficult conversation, and people are going to need to work up the courage to open their minds to have a real conversation. Otherwise, if everybody retreats to their corners, it's going to get ugly. Like it already is in many ways.
Guys, let me know in the comments what you think. If the situation is clearly out of control, or maybe we should just keep pretending it's not. Leave a like if you want to. Christ is King, and God bless you.